The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lakshman Fonseca and read by Tilani Pires. Not a single tourist has arrived to the island from travel-restricted African countries for the last 2 weeks. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Intech Private Limited commenced joint investigations into the LPG issue. The National Building Research Organisation issues landslide warnings for 7 districts. Health authorities urges all Sri Lankans to take the booster shots for extra protection from the Omicron variant. Price hike announced for bakery products. And on the main news story, the CEB says 70% of the electricity is generated by hydropower stations today. Sports news, 4 rugby teams from Europe decided to return home from South Africa ahead of the scheduled matches. And on international news, Australia has reported its first case of the Omicron variant. Not a single tourist has arrived in the island from travel-restricted African countries for the last 2 weeks. Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says the island is open for tourists other than restricted states. However, Sri Lanka has taken measures to check whether the tourists have visited the restricted countries before arriving in the island. He said fully vaccinated tourists are allowed to visit the country in order to support their cricket teams playing in Sri Lanka now. It is also reported many countries are continuing with their sports and other important events besides the pandemic restrictions. As almost all the people are fully vaccinated, the island will continue with its proceedings systematically under the new normalcy, the minister added. Sri Lanka has banned travellers from a number of African countries because of the new COVID variant. The Civil Aviation Authority said that travellers from South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho and Eswatini have been banned. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Intech Private Limited have commenced joint investigations into the gas imports to Sri Lanka. Regarding the recent LPG gas cylinder issues, consumer protection organizations claim that the gas companies have changed the gas composition to 50% to 50%, and this has resulted in the explosions. According to the Sri Lanka standard percentage of butane used for domestic gas cylinders was 80% and the propane content was 20%. The Government Analyst Department has reportedly confirmed that the gas cylinders exploded due to a change in its composition during filling. Expressing their views, Chairman of Litrogas, Thisharaja Singha, and Chairman of LAF's WKH, Vegapitia, said that the cylinders in the market are of proper standards. They also claim that the cylinders are designed to withstand 6 times the normal. Meanwhile, the government has taken steps to suspend the 18-litre gas cylinder released by Litro to the market. The National Building Research Organisation has issued landslide warnings for 7 districts with the prevailing rain. Landslide warnings have been issued to Colombo, Kalutara, Kandy, Kurunegala, Matale, Nuwara and Ratnapura districts. Meanwhile, a flood warning has been issued for residents in the low-lying areas of Dandaroya as the water level of the Dandaroya has been observed rise into minor flood level. Irrigation Department warned that there is a possibility of occurring a considerable flood situation in low-lying areas of Dandaroya Valley. Residents of the area and drivers of vehicles passing through the area are requested to be vigilant of the floods. Experiencing heavy rains has also caused to open 4 sluice gates of the Iranamadu Reservoir in Kilinochchi this morning. Reservoir engineers said the spill level of the reservoir is reaching its optimal level. The Kilinochchi Disaster Management Office has warned the people to be vigilant as there is a risk of flooding in the low-lying areas due to the spill of the reservoir. It added residents of Pandankadi, Kandavale, Murusamottei in Kilinochchi have been warned to shift to safer locations before the flood situation becomes worse. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The Director of the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine at Sri Jayawardhanapura urges all Sri Lankans to continue to remain vigilant of the pandemic situation over the highly mutated Omicron variant of the COVID-19. He says the WHO has said the booster shots would provide extra protection from the Omicron variant. Speaking on the newly detected variant, Dr. Jivandara said there are few cases in the world where people were infected despite being vaccinated against the virus. He further explained that there is no concrete proven data to show that the Omicron variant can escape the vaccine-induced immunity or natural immunity. Therefore, Dr. Jeevandara urged the general public to get their booster dose of the COVID-19 vaccine administered without delay. He said as the booster dose enhances the immunity, the public will not have to panic over the Omicron variant. Dr. Jeevandara also noted that the current efforts taken by the government to mitigate the pandemic have been successful. The rules and regulations imposed on arrivals from overseas are also adequate, he explained. Sri Lanka is equipped with the necessary laboratory facilities required to identify the virus strain, Dr. Jeevandara said. The All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association says the price of a 450-gram loaf of bread will be increased by 10 rupees from midnight today. The association said that the decision was taken due to the increase in the price of wheat flour and other ingredients. Accordingly, other bakery products will also be increased slightly, the association added. That ends local news for now.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The Ceylon Electricity Board, CEB, says 70% of the power is now generated by hydropower stations. The CEB added prevailing rainy condition has facilitated them to run all the powerhouses all day long. Speaking to the SLBC, Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy, Vasanta Pereira said the ministry has scheduled a plan to upgrade renewable energy production at the same rate by the year 2030 throughout the year. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
Watch Life is brought to you by
Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission.
The Rambukkana Vahava Hospital Road is inundated with rainwater even at slow. Shah residents of the area complain. They said newly constructed unauthorized constructions have fully blocked the drainage system, hindering water drainage normally. The issue has caused severe problems for school children, patients and all other commuters using the access road to the Rambukkana town daily. It is reported more than 50 houses, business places and factories are in a severe crisis because of the trapped rainwater. The residents also said they have complained the issue to the Road Development Authority and no measures have still been taken to settle the problem. That came to you in Watchlight.
Select technical and vocational courses with proper guidance. Visit regional career guidance centers or visit nearest district divisional secretariat offices and meet career guidance practitioners or skills development officers. Be aware on unregistered institute which promote widely. Don't waste your valuable time and money. Visit www.tvec.gov.lk for more information. Message from Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission.
Coming up, World News. The headlines first. Australia has reported its first case of the Omicron variant. Christmas tree lit up in Brazil amid pandemic. Switzerland to vote on whether to keep COVID restrictions as cases surge. Australia has reported its first cases of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. Australian authorities say 2 people who tested positive for the Omicron variant today had entered the country from southern Africa and both were fully vaccinated. In the Netherlands, 61 airline passengers from South Africa have tested positive for the coronavirus. The country is waiting for further test results as there are multiple suspected cases of Omicron. It is not yet known whether the Omicron variant spreads more quickly than others, whether it causes severe disease or how effective vaccines are against it. But countries around the world are tightening measures to try to block the variant. A gigantic Christmas tree has been lit up in Brazil, where people are wishing for an end to the coronavirus pandemic. Preparations for Christmas are in full swing in the country. A 50-meter tall tree was unveiled in Sao Paulo yesterday, creating an impressive sight in the city. The tree is displayed with wishes from people that the spread of the virus will be stopped and human relationships lost in the pandemic will be restored. Over 600,000 people have died of COVID-19 in Brazil. Even today, the country's daily tallies of new infections often exceed 10,000. The discovery of a new variant in South Africa has added to people's concern over a new outbreak. The government announced that it will restrict entry of travellers from 6 southern African nations. People in Switzerland are to vote on the government's health measures against COVID-19 in the wake of a large increase in new cases this month. Voters will have their say on the modifications of a previous COVID law, which were adopted by the Swiss Parliament last March. According to a document from Switzerland's federal government, the parliament changed the law to extend financial aid to people who could not be supported before or not enough, as well as to improve the tracing of contact cases and increasing testing capacity. It also enacted the legal basis for the introduction of the COVID certificate to facilitate travel abroad and to allow the holding of certain events, according to the Federal Council. Back to the world news headlines. Australia has reported its first case of the Omicron variant. Christmas tree lit up in Brazil amid pandemic. Switzerland to vote on whether to keep COVID restrictions as cases surge. That ends World News.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take all out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
The Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka Private Limited say that the target of achieving the pre-pandemic revenue level is highly plausible due to the revised health measures. Chief Operations Director and Board Member Shehan Sumanasekara stated that within a span of less than 2 months since the revised health measures were implemented, passenger movement saw a remarkable increase. He said several measures were taken to overcome the losses and one of them was relaxing a few restrictions. Sumanasekara also stated that from the 36 registered airlines, 26 airlines had already commenced operations. That was Development News.
Development News was brought to you by The coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
Moving on with sports news. 4 rugby teams from Europe have decided to return home from South Africa ahead of the scheduled matches there. The move follows the detection of a new variant of the coronavirus known as Omicron in the country. Reuters news agency reported that 2 Welsh, 1 Irish and 1 Italian clubs are trying to leave South Africa, which is hosting the United Rugby Championships. Some of the matches have been postponed. The report says the 2 Welsh clubs had tried to charter a flight home but were refused permission by Britain's civil aviation authorities. Their members are said to be staying in South Africa while efforts to repatriate them continue. Many golfers have also withdrawn from a men's tournament in South Africa. More than 10 of them are hoping to return to Britain soon. That was Sports News.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally.
Stage budget debate in Parliament. He mentioned this commencing The debate on behalf of the government expenditure accounts of the Ministries of Plantations, Land Development and related state ministries are debated today. Minister Patirana further said an income of $1 billion is expected from rubber-related products this year. He says Sri Lanka is becoming a hub for tyre manufacturing industries. That was economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, brings Nanasa app, a trilingual educational mobile app for online learning. With video-based lessons from grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with the Nanasa app. No subscription fees. Download via Google Play Store, App Store, Huawei Store or Windows. Dialogue, the future today.
The Met Department says that showers or thunder showers will occur over most parts of the island in the evening. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters may occur at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and Uva provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. Showers may occur in the northern, eastern and southern provinces during the morning too. That was the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, brings Nanasa app, a trilingual educational mobile app for online learning. With video-based lessons from grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with the Nanasa app. No subscription fees. Download via Google Play Store, App Store, Huawei Store or Windows. Dialogue, the future today.
And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. Not a single tourist has arrived to the island from travel-restricted African countries for the last 2 weeks. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and Intech Private Limited commenced joint investigations into the LPG issue. The National Building Research Organisation issues landslide warnings for 7 districts. Health authorities urges all Sri Lankans to take the booster shots for extra protection from the Omicron variant. Price hike announced for bakery products. And in the main news story, CEB says 70% of electricity is now generated by hydropower stations today. And on sports news, 4 rugby teams from Europe decided to return home from South Africa ahead of the scheduled matches. And on international news, Australia has reported its first case of the Omicron variant. That ends this news broadcast, and of course it's back to my good friend as well as yours, Mario Vijayavardhana, to give you a great time on the Sunday night greetings program.